This week, we kick off the new year with the same origin issue. macOS 0 Day, autofilling not your password, Sonos vulnerabilities, IoT bots will have variants. Jason Wood from Paladin Security joins us for expert commentary on attribution and why it's wicked hard. So stay tuned to this episode of Hack Naked News. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show that brings you the security news each week. And despite popular belief, we do wear pants. It's Hack Naked News.
Most of the organizations I work with, they have
released. Yes, you read it.
Actually do.
The original Linux kernel security with Linux.
So I hope everybody has their resistance built up.
Brought to you by. This episode is brought to you by IT Pro TV. Binge-worthy learning for IT teams. Why is it binge-worthy? It's learning presented in an engaging and entertaining talk show format that beats voice-over PowerPoint snooze fests. IT Pro TV offers an on-demand course library with more than 3,300 hours of content. Watch on your desktop, on the go, or in the comfort of your own living room. IT Pro TV is IT training you and your team actually want to watch, which means a better return on your learning investment. Get started with IT Pro TV for Teams with a special offer for Security Weekly listeners. Visit itpro.tv/Security Weekly to start a 7-day free trial and get 30% off a standard or premium IT Pro TV membership using the code SW30. Do you have a website, an external presence, employees, an office? Any of these things can be compromised and attacked. How are you defending these assets? Have you penetration tested these public assets? Start 2017 by taking a proactive approach to securing your vulnerable areas. Black Hills Information Security has been helping companies find their weaknesses since 2008. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com and see how they can help you sleep better at night. Oh, hey, happy New Year, everyone. Sorry, caught me off guard there. Hey, it's January 2nd, 2018. I'm your host, Paul Asdorian. It is, of course, it's Tuesday at 2 o'clock, which means we're doing Hack Naked News. Very excited to be here. It's episode 155. Got a really kind of light news week for you today on this episode, and some, of course, expert commentary from none other than Jason Wood. I want to remind everyone to check out our on-demand material. Some of our previously recorded webcasts are now available on demand. securityweekly.com/on-demand. Go there now. Go there now. Currently on demand, we've got webcasts with Cyber Reason, Onapsis, Signal Sciences, and StealthBits. I can't talk enough about how this content is awesome, and it is well worth your while. I wouldn't be mentioning it if it wasn't well worth your while to go register and view this content. We talked about file system analysis. We talked about Signal Sciences with web applications. Onapsis had a fantastic webcast where we talked about business-critical applications and the lack of security in those particular applications. Just awesome, awesome content. securityweekly.com/on-demand. Go there now. And now, for the first time in 2018, the security news. A critical same origin policy bypass flaw has been found in Samsung Android browser. Critical vulnerability was discovered in this browser app that comes pre-installed on hundreds of millions of Samsung Android devices that could allow an attacker to steal data from browser tabs if the user visits an attacker-controlled site. This represents quite a few devices in the wild. I wonder just how many will actually get updates or could even be bothered to apply this update. And as of right now, it's pretty much an open field for attack of the same origin policy, which in this case, likely I think we'll see stuff in the wild. So if you have Samsung devices, make sure that if an update is available, it's being applied. Or better yet, use a different web browser. A 15-year-old Apple macOS 0-day kernel flaw was disclosed, which is basically a privilege escalation vulnerability, which has been discovered in macOS. I typed Apple OS 10 for some reason. It's macOS now. Reportedly existing in the same code base for 15 years, according to public reports. It does not require that the user is logged out, or it does require the user is logged out or the attacker has forced a reboot in order to be successful. The researcher in this case has released the code to the public rather than report this flaw to Apple. This is a potentially controversial disclosure, however, underscores the lack of public bug bounty program for Apple's macOS operating system. Automatic autofill of your username and password, not a good idea. Researchers at the Princeton Center for Information Technology Policy have uncovered 2 third-party tracking scripts that can scoop up information provided by your browser's login manager to create a persistent identifier tracking you as you move between web pages. Look, folks, LastPass or some other third-party password manager is always a better option than what's included in the web browser. I believe it's a matter of focus. Web browser development teams have a ton on their plate. Browsers today are more like operating systems than ever before, whereas password managers have development teams that are essentially focused on protecting your credentials. And of course, two-factor authentication helps. Security flaws have been found in Sonos Internet connected speakers. Sonos has already responded to Trend Micro about the findings and has issued an update for its users. According to Trend Micro, the company also reached out to Bose but has not yet received a response to its findings. The Sonos flaws in particular could enable an attacker to gain information about Sonos users, as well as potentially enabling limited control of a device to play songs. This has been around for some time. I've had Sonos for quite a number of years now. In fact, if you watch some of my previous presentations on IoT device security, I actually show some information disclosure flaws that I probably should have reported to Sonos now that I think of it. But these have just been running around for a while. Even vulnerability scanners are able to pick up on some of these flaws. They seem to be very leaky with information, as is evidenced by that story. Code used in zero-day Huawei router attacks have been made public. Exploit code used in the malware variant called Satori, which was used to attack hundreds of thousands of Huawei routers over the past several weeks, is now public. Researchers warn that code will quickly become a commodity and leveraged in DDoS attacks via botnets such as Reaper or IO Trooper. I put that in there because I just wanted to say Reaper or IO Trooper because it sounds cool. Given we've seen similar code posted online for free, and given my previous research into this matter, including reviewing the source code of the Mirai botnet, I've come to the conclusion that it's not all that difficult to write this code, and it will be available for the world to see. There's nothing really secret about the sauce here. I mean, basically, it's guessing default usernames and passwords and dropping payloads on routers. It's not rocket science. I don't think it's really news, but a fact about the state of IoT security, which is really, it still stinks. And now, take a short break, come back with Jason Wood from Paladin Security, talk about a topic that I love, sort of, is attribution. Stay tuned. Has your network been breached? Cybereason can help you answer this question. Cybereason products hunt for threats within your network and eliminate them in real time. To Cybereason, real time means within seconds. Founded by former military hackers who don't play by the rules, they've built this experience into their platform. Harness ingenuity and imagination, not just code, to defeat attackers. Cybereason, disrupt the adversary and let the hunt begin. Welcome back, everyone. If you work in IT and want to have access to an awesome library of on-demand training, head on over to itpro.tv/Security Weekly. They are now accepting requests for demos of their IT team solution that allows you and your coworkers access to over 3,300 hours of training at any time. It's awesome. You should do that. Go there now. Jason Wood is here with us. Jason, welcome back. Happy New Year and all things Hack Naked News.
Happy New Year to you as well. Glad to see you guys have not entirely frozen yet.
Well, you know, the bourbon keeps us warm, Jason. If I were to put such things in my coffee.
So today I thought I'd look at something maybe a little bit more technical in nature. And as Paul mentioned, we're going to be talking a little bit about attribution to malware. Recently, I started doing some more work learning more about malware analysis, and I ran across a blog post by Marco Ramilli that caught my attention. In this post, Marco goes through
can we say
some malware.
Dilly Marco Ramilli? Dilly. Marco Ramilli.
If you want to do that,
I just
go
did.
for it.
Sorry.
I blame the bourbon and the coffee.
Carry on.
So Marco goes through the different stages of a malware attack. Essentially, what's going on here is he picked up a malware sample from an email address that he has to collect things like this, and it's a Word document with a macro enabled in it. So he spent quite a bit of time, it sounds like, working on that, decoding that obfuscated macro. He said something about going through 4 different rounds of character substitution plus UTF encoding and stuff like that to actually extract this back to get to the original PowerShell command that is used to download an exe from the internet and then turns around and executes it right away. Now, this still amazes me in some ways that people will get a document from somewhere and say, get the prompt from Word saying, did you want to enable macros? Oh, yes, please. Let me run code from somewhere else on my system. Nonetheless, that was stage 1 of the attack. So after all doing that decoding, he's taking a look at this binary, which turns out to be a .NET executable. He was able to disassemble that back to source code, do analysis on that. This gave him a little bit of feel for the style of development that the original developer was using. And I think when we talk about coding style, I mean, which I'm sure you've seen it. You've looked at scripts or source code, and you see different ways that a different developer will use either how they make their comments, format their code.
Yeah, usually if I look at it, I'm like, wow, that's really that's really crappy. I'm like, wait, that's my code. Never mind.
Yeah. I love that feeling going back and looking at your old scripts and going,
like, who wrote this? Oh, that was me. Never mind.
Yeah. Hopefully I was barely awake when I did that, not that I was paying attention.
Right.
Anyhow. But he said one of the things he noticed is the code in here had, like the source code comments, rather, had Japanese characters in it. So you have the C# code, and then the comments are all Japanese characters, which he did some translation back using Google Translate.
I write all
to give us some ideas of what was going on there.
I write all my comments in Japanese.
Do you?
In case you're wondering.
Wow. I personally prefer Cambodian, but
yeah,
teach their own.
Swahili.
So, some of the things you hear talked about in attribution is the idea of, hey, we saw how we're seeing commonalities in how an attacker or a group of attackers is doing their coding and whatnot, comments that they make, different characteristics that pop up. And so, you look at it and say, oh, well, we've got Japanese characters. Maybe we've got the original attacker here is somebody in Japan or Japanese descent. Well, not quite yet. As he digs into it further, the exe itself, the second stage, all it does really is then extract a third stage from itself, I guess, to try and evade some of the antivirus or whatnot, where it's doing some XOR operations and extracts another exe from itself. And then we end up with yet this now third stage of the process, this attack, which is another .NET executable. Again, disassemble it, go back and look at it. Coding style is totally different. Comments are in English now. So, it starts to look like, hey, we've got 2 separate developers here. So you start to look at how you do you want to do some attribution on what it is you're looking at. Okay, we've got stuff written in Japanese. This looks like maybe we got somebody of Japanese descent. Oh, wait, this next stage here is not at all, and it looks entirely different. It looks like somebody else wrote it. This third stage is where things finally start to happen. He says that the malware attempted to fingerprint the system that it was running on, look for other computers on the network, and then check in with a web-based command and control system. So what's interesting about all of this? People talk about attribution. It's hard. It's easy. It's just some IP address out there registered to a country. Whatever their comments are. But here we've got some malware. We've gone through 3 different levels of code analysis that have gone on, and we've seen some wildly different styles and behavior in this process. One of the things that it comes to mind, and that Marco commented on, is that the malware authors are being very similar to all of us regular developers, systems administrators, and security folks. How many times have you say, hey, I need to go do something. Here's a tool that will work, a library or whatever. I'll just grab that and use that, or an exe that does that.
Or Stack Overflow.
And that's what or Stack Overflow. Yeah. But that's what looks like what's potentially is going on here. We've got an attacker out there. Somebody's putting together this phishing attempt with a malicious Word document, and they have grabbed, maybe they did the initial macro, who knows, but they've grabbed different tools and chained them together in the attack. Now this potentially makes it easier for them, right? Attackers have a life too, and they don't want to write all this stuff themselves. So the idea here is they're using code reuse to improve their capabilities without having to spend a lot of time, and it starts to make the idea of attributing this back to somebody to be more difficult. Obviously, if you had more samples and stuff like that, maybe you'd start to put together a better picture. This is just off of one sample. But I thought it was an interesting read.
No, Jason, I think we really need to separate who might have written those various components and who might have pieced them together. So the person writing the code could very well, and in most cases probably is different from the person actually executing the code in the attack.
Right.
And with all the code available today, trying to figure out, well, who is the original author might even really not get you that they might have written this, executed some campaign that was wildly unsuccessful and moved on to something else. But now other malicious actors are taking those pieces of code and piecing them together. And you might be able to basically develop a fingerprint of, well, this group likes to piece together code this way and use these different components, and now we're seeing it. But of course, they can always shift and just cobble together different pieces of code. So I think it still makes attribution very hard and very different from I think 15, even 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if the idea here is we're looking at how somebody's done something in this single sample, right? That's going to be a very limited value. If you're somebody that does incident response on a large scale, a company or whatever, and you're able to aggregate a bunch of information from incident to incident, then maybe it becomes more useful. But maybe you're able to start to pick out some traits that groups have. But like you said, they can just shift. Regardless, I think it's kind of a cool read. I've got the link here in the show notes at wiki.securityweekly.com. I'd recommend you go check it out if you're interested in malware analysis, screenshots of the source code and things like that to see what Marco's talking about. It was just an interesting and enjoyable read on analysis, and raises some good questions as to maybe how we look at code and try and, as you sit there and think, who is this guy who's writing this? So go check it out.
I will end the show with Dilly Dilly, Marco Ramilli. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Jason, thank you very much. See everyone next time on Hack Naked News.